wasn't getting from my corporate job was coming out through this, and it was really, really fun. A lot of hard work. I
Yeah.
mean, we worked super hard, and it was our giving up our weekends, but it definitely lit a fire.
For nearly 20 years, Sean Stockman lived the kind of life many people dream about. A stable career, a reliable paycheck, and long-term job security. Then, he walked away from it all. Armed with little more than a lawnmower, a camera, and an unusual idea, he began cleaning overgrown yards for strangers for free. There were no guarantees, no sponsors, and no backup plan if it failed. To many, it seemed like a risky mistake. Yet that leap of faith transformed him into one of YouTube's most beloved creators. But how did a corporate employee make it happen? The life he left behind. Long before audiences knew him for transforming neglected properties, Sean Stockman lived a very different reality. During a conversation with a former college friend, he shared that he spent close to 2 decades working in Detroit's automotive industry. It was a conventional career path, steady, predictable, and capable of supporting his family. But there was another side of Sean that existed outside the office. Years before YouTube entered the picture, he had developed a passion for video production. Beginning around 2004, he spent his spare time editing wedding videos and eventually worked as a second photographer and videographer at wedding events alongside a friend. It wasn't just extra income, it was something he genuinely enjoyed. Creating videos gave him an outlet that his corporate role couldn't provide. It allowed him to be imaginative, tell stories, and build something from scratch. Still, creativity alone wasn't enough to support a household. With family responsibilities growing, Sean chose stability over uncertainty and continued building his career in the automotive world. For years, he balanced both lives. During the week, he worked in a professional corporate environment. On evenings and weekends, he picked up a camera and pursued his creative interests. From the outside, everything appeared to be going exactly as planned. He had spent nearly 20 years with the same company, earned a respectable position, and enjoyed the security that comes with long-term employment. Yet, despite those accomplishments, Sean has admitted that he often struggled with self-confidence. Like many successful professionals, he quietly battled imposter syndrome, questioning whether he truly belonged in the role he had worked so hard to achieve. That's what makes what happened next so difficult to understand. Sean wasn't escaping a miserable job. He wasn't running from workplace drama or professional failure. By most measures, his career was successful. His life was stable. Which makes the decision that followed even more remarkable. If everything seemed to be working, what convinced him to leave it all behind? The financial lesson that shaped him. Long before Sean Stockman became known on YouTube, he and his wife faced a challenge that many young couples know all too well: debt. They married young, started a family early, and like countless newlyweds, found themselves relying on credit cards without fully appreciating how quickly balances could grow. What began as small purchases eventually turned into a debt burden that became impossible to ignore. At the same time, Sean was spending his weekends filming and editing wedding videos. While his corporate salary covered the family's everyday expenses, the income from those wedding projects had a different purpose. Every extra dollar went toward paying down their debt. It wasn't a quick fix. It took patience, discipline, and years of consistent effort. Month after month, they watched the balance slowly shrink until they finally reached a milestone they had worked incredibly hard to achieve. When the debt was finally gone, they decided to celebrate. Sean and his wife treated themselves to a special dinner at an upscale restaurant. Ironically, the meal was charged to a credit card, but this time it represented victory rather than struggle. It was a symbolic moment that reflected just how far they had come. Behind that accomplishment were countless sacrifices. There were evenings when Sean stayed up late editing footage while his wife handled bedtime routines alone. There were weekends spent working instead of relaxing. But together, they pushed through. Looking back, That chapter reveals something important about Sean's character. Long before he encouraged strangers to tackle overwhelming projects and start fresh, he was doing exactly that in his own life. He had already learned what persistence looked like when progress felt slow. And yet, even after overcoming debt and establishing a stable career, something still felt unfinished. The question wasn't whether he could keep doing what he was doing, it was whether he wanted to spend the rest of his life doing it. The unexpected turning point. Unlike many success stories, Sean's career change didn't begin with a dramatic moment. There was no heated confrontation at work, no grand announcement, no sudden realization that changed everything overnight. Instead, the spark came from something surprisingly ordinary. One evening, while scrolling through YouTube Shorts before bed, Sean came across a video of someone mowing an overgrown property. He found himself completely absorbed by the transformation. There was something oddly satisfying about watching chaos turn into order. When his wife walked into the room and heard the sound of lawn equipment playing from his phone, she naturally wondered what he was watching. Sean didn't have much of an explanation. He simply kept watching. The videos stuck with him. A few days later, while driving his son to school, he passed an abandoned property that had been completely overtaken by weeds and brush. Almost instantly, he imagined what it would look like cleaned up. More importantly, he imagined filming the process. That simple thought refused to leave his mind. So he decided to act on it. Using little more than his phone, a basic tripod, and a handful of lawn tools, Sean headed to the property and documented the cleanup from start to finish. He edited the footage himself, using a free mobile app, and uploaded the video to a brand new channel with no expectations whatsoever. Then something surprising happened. Within days, the video attracted thousands of views. For someone who wasn't trying to become an influencer and had never seriously considered YouTube as a career, the response was impossible to ignore. People genuinely enjoyed watching the transformations. What started as a curious experiment suddenly felt like something more. There was no production company behind him, no marketing team, no blueprint for success. Just a man with years of experience telling visual stories through wedding videos and a growing curiosity about whether this unusual idea could become something bigger. As more videos gained traction, the effects began showing up elsewhere, particularly at work. Eventually, Sean's supervisors became aware of his growing YouTube channel. They noticed that his passion and attention seemed increasingly focused on the project he was building outside the office. What happened next surprised him. Instead of discouraging him, they offered support. According to Sean, his managers recognized how excited he was about the channel and encouraged him to pursue the opportunity. They reminded him that the skills and experience he'd built over 2 decades weren't disappearing. If things didn't work out, he would always have something to return to. Hearing that from the people whose opinions mattered most made a lasting impact. Still, leaving wasn't an easy decision. Sean spent considerable time discussing the possibility with his wife, seeking advice from trusted friends, and thinking carefully about the risks involved. Prayer and reflection became part of the process as well. Only after those conversations did he finally decide to step away from corporate life and focus on Midlife Stockman full-time. For the first time in his life, he was working for himself. And despite the success that followed, he has admitted that the uncertainty never completely disappeared. Once he made the leap, however, the channel's growth accelerated dramatically. What began as a single cleanup project evolved into something much larger. Viewers weren't drawn in by controversy, clickbait, or manufactured drama. They were watching because the content felt genuine. Sean showed up, did the work, and allowed the transformation to speak for itself. Within a relatively short period, the channel attracted hundreds of thousands of subscribers and eventually crossed the 1 million subscriber milestone, an achievement most creators spend years trying to reach. The contrast is remarkable. It took nearly 20 years to build one career, yet only a fraction of that time to build an audience that spanned the globe. But subscriber counts and view numbers only tell part of the story. The bigger question is this: what is it about Sean Stockman that keeps people coming back, turning casual viewers into a loyal community that feels personally invested in every video he uploads? What makes the story even more remarkable is that the success never seemed to change him. Even as the audience grew into the hundreds of thousands and then beyond 1 million subscribers, Sean continued showing up to properties himself, doing the same hard work that attracted viewers in the first place. There was no sudden shift toward flashy productions or viral gimmicks. Instead, he stayed focused on helping people and improving neglected spaces. That consistency became the foundation of the channel's appeal. People weren't just watching lawn transformations anymore, they were watching a creator whose actions matched his values. The video that changed everything, success on YouTube, is often blamed on luck. One viral upload, one algorithm boost, one moment that suddenly changes everything. But for Sean Stockman, the story was a little more complicated. There was one particular cleanup that introduced his channel to an entirely new audience. While helping clean a property at the request of local officials, Sean found himself in an unexpected confrontation with a resident who questioned why he was there. The encounter grew tense enough that law enforcement eventually became involved. Throughout it all, Sean's camera continued recording. Sean has since reflected on the incident with surprising humility. Rather than focusing on the conflict itself, he spoke about trying to understand the perspective of the other person involved. He acknowledged that everyone carries experiences and struggles that aren't immediately visible, and he resisted the urge to turn the situation into a battle of right versus wrong. The video quickly spread far beyond his existing audience. Suddenly, thousands of people who had never heard of Midlife Stockman were discovering the channel for the first time. Yet something unexpected happened. Instead of subscribing because of the confrontation, viewers began exploring his older videos and realized the channel wasn't built on controversy at all. What they found was a creator quietly helping people, week after week, without expecting anything in return. That realization turned casual viewers into loyal supporters. Sean has said he wishes the confrontation had never occurred in the first place. He would have preferred a positive interaction rather than a difficult one. But the overwhelming response that followed reinforced something important. People weren't connecting with the conflict. They were connecting with the person behind the camera. Which naturally leads to another question. Who is Sean Stockman when the cameras are turned off? The family at the center of it all. Behind every cleanup video is a husband and father whose family remains at the center of everything he does. Sean and his wife, Tessa, have built a life together while raising 4 children. According to Sean, his role as a husband and father directly influences how he approaches every project. Before beginning a cleanup, he often asks himself a simple question. If this were my family's property, how would I want it treated? That mindset explains why many of his projects extend far beyond mowing grass. Over the years, viewers have watched him repair fences, build staircases, remove dangerous debris, and tackle problems that homeowners simply couldn't afford to address themselves. The goal isn't just to improve appearances, it's to create safer, more functional spaces for the families who live there. When you consider his previous career, the contrast is remarkable. After spending more than 2 decades managing purchasing operations for major companies, Sean now spends much of his time using his hands to help complete strangers. On paper, it looks like a dramatic career shift. In reality, it reflects a deeper set of values that have been developing throughout his life. And those values can be traced back to a painful chapter from his childhood. When Sean was 10 years old, his father passed away from cancer. Losing a parent at such a young age leaves a lasting impact. Beyond the grief itself, there's the absence of guidance, mentorship, and the countless lessons that would have been learned over time. Fortunately, someone stepped in, Years later, Sean's future father-in-law became a major influence in his life. He taught Sean practical skills, introduced him to hands-on projects, and helped fill a void that had existed since childhood. Many of the abilities viewers now see in his videos, building structures, making repairs, solving problems with his hands, can be traced back to those lessons. It's a detail that changes how you view the channel. The projects aren't simply acts of generosity. In many ways, they're a continuation of something Sean received himself years ago. Every repaired fence, every rebuilt staircase, every restored property represents the same kind of support and guidance that helped shape his own life. He's passing forward what was once given to him, the community that made it possible. As the channel grew, something else began to emerge. Sean wasn't just building an audience, he was building a community. Today, supporters often refer to themselves as part of the MLS community, short for Midlife Stockman. Through merchandise purchases, memberships, and other forms of support, viewers help fund the tools, equipment, and resources needed to keep the cleanups completely free for homeowners. That model is central to the mission. The families receiving help aren't paying for the work. Instead, people from around the world contribute because they believe in the impact of what they're watching. In many ways, every supporter becomes part of the project. Sean has often spoken about wanting viewers to feel connected to something larger than a YouTube channel. Over time, that philosophy became closely associated with a simple phrase: not perfect, but better. What began as an honest reflection of his outlook eventually became the unofficial motto of the community. The message resonates because it feels attainable. Sean isn't presenting himself as someone who has figured everything out. He's simply promoting the idea that progress matters more than perfection, that people, places, and situations can improve one step at a time. That mindset has connected with viewers far beyond the lawn care niche. Many fans describe his videos as a weekly reminder that positive change is possible. Others say they aren't watching for the yard transformations at all. They're watching because they enjoy seeing forgotten properties and overlooked people receive care and attention. At its core, the channel has become about restoration, not just of landscapes, but of dignity. The impact of that message can be seen throughout the community Sean has built. Viewers regularly share stories of cleaning up their own neighborhoods, helping elderly neighbors, or tackling projects they had been putting off for years. In that sense, the channel has become more than entertainment. It has become a source of motivation. What started as one man mowing overgrown lawns has inspired thousands of people to take small actions in their own communities. For Sean, that's perhaps the most meaningful transformation of all. Not the yards being restored, but the people choosing to make a difference because they watched someone else do the same. Where he is today. Today, Sean Stockman's channel has grown into one of the most recognizable transformation channels on YouTube. What makes that achievement particularly impressive is how little his approach has changed. Despite reaching an audience that most creators only dream of, Sean continues to show up personally for the work. He still visits properties, still handles projects firsthand, and still approaches each cleanup with the same mindset that guided his earliest videos. Many creators eventually transition into management roles once their channels become large enough. Sean has largely remained committed to the hands-on work that attracted viewers in the first place. He has even joked about how his current lifestyle has replaced another passion from his past: marathon running. The endurance required for long-distance races has simply been redirected into a different challenge, one that benefits other people along the way. Perhaps most notably, Sean has consistently avoided taking full credit for his success. Whenever he discusses the channel's growth, he points back to the community that supports it. In his view, the channel's impact isn't the result of one person's efforts, but of thousands of people choosing to contribute in their own way. And maybe that's what makes his story stand out. A man spent more than 20 years building a stable corporate career. He walked away from that security with the encouragement of those around him. turned a simple idea into a mission and built a community centered on helping others. There are no shocking scandals, no dramatic feuds, no hidden controversies waiting to be uncovered. Instead, the story is surprisingly straightforward. It's about a husband, a father, a childhood loss, and a decision to use the skills he had been given to improve the lives of people he had never met. In an online world often dominated by outrage and conflict, that simplicity may be exactly why so many people connect with it. Because beneath the lawn mowers, cameras, and subscriber counts is a message that feels increasingly rare. Small acts of kindness still matter, and sometimes they're enough to change far more lives than anyone expected. Looking ahead, Sean shows no signs of slowing down. While many creators eventually expand into multiple businesses or move away from the work that made them successful, he continues to focus on the mission that started it all. Each new project represents another opportunity to help someone who may have been overlooked. And as his audience continues to grow, so does the reach of that mission. What began as a simple idea sparked by a YouTube video has evolved into something much larger. A reminder that purpose can be found in the most unexpected places, and that one person's decision to serve others can inspire countless more to do the same. That's the story behind Midlife Stockman, from the corporate career he left behind to the family experiences that shaped his purpose, and the community that helped turn a simple idea into a movement. If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe for more stories about the people behind today's most fascinating creators. And let us know in the comments who you'd like to see featured next.